Hey everybody, this is Kevin, again, from CryptoFred76, and we are back going to talk today about capes! Ta-da! Long time ago, when we first started collecting imaginext figures, I noticed that none of the Robin figures came with capes. This was the original one that we got, and he didn't come with a cape, and that was kind of annoying. But I figured, we'll wait it out eventually, right? So then this version of Robin came out, and again, no cape. He came with the second or third Batcave. And then they had repaints of both Robins and still no cape. So finally, I did some investigating and I found a way to make some pretty cool capes. As you can see, the original Robin here has a yellow cape, yellow on the inside, black on the outside. It's a little twisted from the storage bin there. The second version of Robin, which is one of my favorites, except what I don't like is how tall he is. Same deal, yellow on the inside, black on the other side. This one's black through and through, black on both sides. This version of Robin happens to have a all black cape. I made some others too. This lightly customized Martian Manhunter has a blue cape hanging off of his back instead of the purple one because I like the original version better than the new 52. I got a custom steel here that I made. He's got a nice bright red cape on. And one of my most recent customs is, move back guys, is Ocean Master, and he's got a nice bright red cape too hanging off of his shoulders. Now you can probably notice there's several different ways that I've attached the capes. This one goes right to his neck, this one's going over his shoulder pads, this one's hanging off of his back. The Robins have different ways to do it too, and I'm going to go over some of those different things towards the end, but first I want to show you what you're going to need. Okay, so things you're going to need for this project. Number one, an ironing board and an iron. You're also going to need 2 pairs of scissors. Fabric scissors and regular scissors. Fabric scissors because you need to cut fabric. Fabric scissors are scissors that you only use on fabric. They need to stay extra sharp. When you're cutting fabric, you want extra sharp fabric scissors. You can't use them to cut like paper. Paper's made of wood. Wood can dull the blade of the scissors, so you need fabric scissors, and you also need to cut some other things, so you need scissors. So I got 2 pairs of scissors here. The green ones are the fabric scissors, the red ones are the regular scissors. This over here is called Heat and Bond Ultra Hold. I'm trying to do this without getting a shadow on there. It's the no-sew version in the red bag. You want to make sure you get the one in the red bag. You can find it at any hobby store or craft store or fabric store, that wherever is nearby, whatever you can get, but you want to find Heat and Bond Ultra Hold in the red bag, because I don't know if I mentioned this yet, but we're not actually going to have to sew anything for this project. If you use the Heat and Bond Ultra Hold in the red bag, no sewing required. You don't have to worry about any of that. And the last thing you need is your fabric. What I do is I just go down and I get bandanas. And they sell them, they're only like $1.25, $1.30, something like that. And you can buy different colors. They have nice, bright, solid colors. I got yellow, black, red, and blue here. And so for whatever color you're planning on making, whatever color cape you want to make, you just buy whatever fabric you need. In this case, we're going to use blue, but we'll get to that in a minute. So, fabric. One more time, Heat and Bond Ultra Hold in the red bag. Fabric scissors and regular scissors, an iron, and your ironing board. So this one's probably going to require a trip to the store for you before you get started, but that's a list of materials there. One more time. Alright, now on to the project. Alright, first thing we're going to do is get your fabric out. We're going to cut a piece of this to start making our cape. You're going to use the fabric scissors, right? Green handled fabric scissors. I'm going to start by just cutting a big square. You need a lot. You're going to start with a lot, and you're going to cut it down, cut it down, cut it down until it's the size of the cape that you need. But for now, we're going to start with, this is probably about 3-4 inches square of fabric. Nice blue fabric. We're making a blue cape. Alright, let's get this out of the way. We got a nice square of fabric here. Okay, this stuff has edges on it. The handkerchief itself has a little edge sewn into it. We're going to work around that. We're going to cut most of that off. But we're going to start for now with a nice blue square of fabric. Okay, then you're going to get your Heat and Bond Ultra out. Just like we had before. This is already open. Now if you got to look at this stuff a little bit. Hopefully it'll show up on camera. You see that it's kind of shiny on this side. You can see how shiny it is. And it's dull on the other side. The shiny side is the side with the glue. And the dull side is the side with, well, without the glue. We're going to cut a square of this. We're going to use our regular scissors, not fabric scissors, because this is not fabric. You only cut fabric with fabric. So you only use fabric scissors on fabric. Measure it up a little bit. Make sure that we got enough. We're going to make this smaller. This square is going to be a little smaller than the fabric square that we made. Cut this right here. There we go, a nice square. I got shiny on one side, dull on the other side. I get the rest of this stuff out of the way for now. You get a ton of Heat and Bond in the package, so don't worry about how much you're using. At this stage, we're just going to glue this on here. So, you lay the paper right on top of the fabric. And you got, oh, you know what? I forgot to do something first. First, you take your piece of fabric that you cut out, and you got to iron it nice and flat. Flat, flat, flat. So you take your iron, and that's all it takes. Get all the wrinkles and the folds out of this thing. It's been folded up in on the shelf for a while, and then in my cupboard for a while. But we got a nice flat piece of fabric now to work with. Okay? Then take your paper of Heat and Bond seal here and lay that down. And you're going to do the same thing. You just lay it down right on top. Get the iron on there. Cover the whole thing up. Just takes a couple of seconds. The package says 2 seconds. I usually go for a few more than that. But that's it. It's on there. Now the glue, the iron heats up the glue, which gets into the fabric, and it makes itself part of the fabric. So now we've got a nice square of blue fabric with white glue in the middle. It's hot when you first take the iron off, so give it a minute. You can see through the other side there. Nice and thin. And the next thing we're going to do is kind of shape it. We're going to cut all this extra fabric off. I told you, we're going to spend a lot of time just cutting this thing down. You're going to feel like you have a lot of extra. And you do. Oh, and we use the regular scissors because we're cutting fabric and paper right now. Fabric scissors are for fabric only. Okay, cut that off. Cut that off. Alright. You seeing this? Cut this off. Sometimes I forget what I'm doing here on the camera. Apologize for that. But we're just cutting this square into a size that's going to work for us. Now, got a nice square of fabric with the glue and the paper already on it. Now is when we start trying to make it into the shape of a cape and the size that we need. We're going to start with this, bigger than you need. Get these out of the way. Next thing we're going to do is back to another square of fabric. We've got to cut out another piece of fabric. In this case, I'm making a blue cape. It's going to be blue on both sides, so I'm using another piece of blue fabric. I'm going to cut out here in a second. If you were making, say, a cape for Robin, and you wanted black on the inside, black on the outside, and yellow on the inside, the way most modern Robin capes look, what you would do now is get your second color. We already had blue. If this was the black, then you'd get the yellow for the second layer. But in this case, we're just doing blue on blue. So I'm going to fabric scissors, because I'm only cutting fabric. Cut around this square a little bit. Doesn't have to be even, doesn't have to be perfect, doesn't even have to be fitted. Just cut it out. There it is. Another piece of fabric fits this yellow, this white paper part fits inside this fabric. we're back to that. Now, just like before, we're going to put this aside. You got your blue piece of fabric. Get your iron out. Flatten it out again. That's all it takes. A little crease in there still. There we go. Nice and flat. You need a nice flat surface to work on. One more. Okay, but before we get to gluing this piece on, we're going to go back to this blue and white one that we have here, and we're finally going to start shaping it to the figure that we want to use. So you got to get your figure out. The figure I'm going to be using today is this custom I've been working on. This is Ms. Martian. Kind of a combination of her regular suit and her stealth suit. I used the blind bag witch from series 5, I think, whatever it was. And you know, it's all painted up. I got the straps over her shoulders and everything. The hair's all done. We just need the cape. Now that she's got room to fit a cape in underneath there too, which is great. What we're going to do though is start measuring. Now this goes the long way, sort of this way. You're going to get your regular scissors, right? Because we're cutting paper and fabric right now. We're going to measure this. I want it to fall just below her knees, in between the knees and the top of the boots here on this figure. So just about to there. So we need to, but we're also going to need it to come up over her shoulders here and attach in the front. You want it to come out just a little past her legs. So when you start making your cuts, you're going to pass the legs here and make a little cut there. Past this leg, you're going to make a little cut here. Okay. And we're going to start to taper it up. You want it to go, you want it to come out just over her shoulders. Not over the arm, shoulder part of the arm, but right inside of her torso here. You're going to want the cape to hit just around there on both sides. And it's going to get wider as it goes down because you want it to go out past her legs so that you can see the thing when you're, you know, figures on display when you're playing with it. Which these capes are very durable. They are playable. You can give these to your kids and let them play. They're great like that. Part of the reason that we use the seal, the Ultra Bond stuff. So I'm going to cut this, taper it a little bit. Remember I said we're going to keep cutting it and cutting it until we get it to the size that we want. So you don't go too small on the first try. Keep it nice and big and wide. Try to keep your angles roughly the same, but you can always trim the bottom to make it even too if you need to. So pretty good. You see it's still, if it's going to hit right below her knees there, you see it's still a little wide up on top here, but that's fine. It's better off that it's too wide than too narrow, because then you have to start over. So it's coming out just about her shoulders, the arms, so we're going to have to trim that some more. Another thing you want to look at is, if it's going to come down to here, you want to come over her shoulders, so you fold it over a little bit. See about where it's coming to here. So we're going to cut some of this off. Alright, leave it long, you know, make it even, just into the shape of the cape that you want your figure to wear. Alright, how's this looking? Pretty good. And here it is with the blue showing. Alright, now, I think before we get any further into this, into the trimming, we're going to glue the other piece of cape on. The back part. We've all been waiting for here. So, move these things out of the way. Make sure you have your iron ready and hot. Get your new piece of fabric that we cut a few minutes ago. It's real big this time. And that's going to fit right there in the middle of it. Probably didn't need to make this piece nearly as big as I did, but I cut kind of early. You could have waited until after you had this shape and then cut a piece, but you do want to make it bigger. You do want to make it bigger than the original piece. It's going to overlap everything. You're going to trim it down in a few minutes. Now, here we go. This paper will peel right off. You get in at one of these corners, not hard. It's going to peel right off. And now, that shininess that we talked about on the paper earlier is on your cape. That's the glue. That's going to hold this thing together. It's dull on this side, it's just fabric. On this side, nice and shiny glue. You can feel a little tacky in there too. And just like before, you're going to lay this piece of cape, piece of fabric, right in the middle of this larger piece of fabric. Get your iron out, right on there. Push it right down. Put some pressure on it. This should go for a little longer. The package says 10 seconds for this one. It only said 2 seconds for the first time around. Slide it off. Make sure you got all those corners and everything. Now you can see that cape glued to the inside of this piece of fabric. This is why I didn't want it to be perfect the first time, because you got to trim it some more. And we're going to trim it down to the two pieces together. We're going to be trimming. Get my iron out of the way so I don't burn myself. Okay, now this is where it gets really good. Get your fabric scissors again and trim it right along that edge. Trim a little bit of the original piece of cape off so that you keep it, you get that seal right in there. Nice straight line there. That's where the seal happens. Then we'll cross the top again. Like that. Like this. What we're doing. Across the bottom. And now we're getting close here, folks. Getting real close. We've got a cape. Almost ready to go. Just needs to be sized a little bit more at the shoulders and attached. Alright. Okay, so here's our figure. And the way this is going to work is we're just going to slide it up over her shoulders and have it attach in the front. There's a lot of different ways to attach these capes. Depending on the figure, there's a lot of different things you can do. In this case, the simplest thing is to just start by putting a notch right in here. Okay, so now you got your figure, you got a notch in the cape, and you're just going to start fitting it up over the shoulders. Right up. So now we have a cut down the middle here, right like that. We're going to start fitting it over her shoulders here. Just slide it in over her shoulders. How's that going? And that's all the way up underneath her hair at this point. Pulling on her neck, and it's going just to the top of her boots just about. That's a pretty good fit actually. But I'm going to go a little deeper. Just a little bit further. It's kind of up to you and the figure that you're making and the you know, the picture that you have of how you want it to work out in the end. But in this case, personally, I want it to go a little further. Next thing I'm going to do is notch it. Not very much, but it's got to be enough to fit around that neck of hers. There's got to be room for that. I'm trying to keep this on camera here, I apologize. So I'm going to cut a little shape in here. With the fabric scissors, of course, because we're cutting only fabric and glue now. Glue doesn't count. Fabric scissors. There we go. See that? Little triangle. And do the same in the other direction. Not very much. You don't have to go far. You just, it's a small figure. Cut it out. There it is. That part now, hopefully, will fit right around her neck. So the cape still lays flat on her shoulders. How about that? Look at that. Perfect. And it goes just about to her knees like I said I wanted it to. Now the last thing we're going to do is figure out the front here. Obviously, she doesn't need these giant things falling over in front, what we should probably do is let it overlap a little bit in front and then trim it. So it'll kind of be affixed in the front here. Let it overlap a little bit. Like that. Like that. And that's how the cape is going to fit on. Nicey nice. Looks good, right? Alright, so here's the figure here. Here's the cape. I took it off of her shoulders. And what I'm going to do, two things I'm going to do. First, just some super glue. This is a Scotch super glue. And with the thickness of this cape now, we can just put some dabs of glue in there. Glue it all up tight. Not gluing it to the figure, just gluing these pieces together. Right around the neck. There we go. Nice and tight around the neck. Sorry this camera angle isn't the greatest for doing this. It works a lot better on the stove than it does on the ironing board. That glue set. Once this is set, we only got a little bit of cutting left to do. Last bit here. Sorry, girl. And here we are, pretty much a finished product. I overlapped the cape. Very hard to see on this camera. I overlapped the two pieces of cape coming around her shoulders and just super glued them together right there in front. And it hangs down nicely in the back to the knees, right where we wanted it. That looks like a pull, but it's not. It's just a scrap of fabric. And there we go. That's how you make capes. The important part is the gluing, the ironing and the gluing process that we went over. And make sure that you get the Ultra Hold Heat and Bond. That's the one that doesn't require any sewing, because this is too small to sew and I don't know how to sew it. Alright guys, I decided I wanted to show you how to do some of the Robin capes too. So far, we did the Miss Martian one, and the way that they make the capes is pretty consistent. You know, cutting it, gluing it, cutting it, cutting it, cutting it, till you get the right shape that you want. These Robin figures can be a little tricky. Not really that tricky, but we talked about boil and pop before. You heat the figure up in the boiling water, and you can pop parts out. Now this Robin figure, this is one of the original mold Robin with the red pants on them there. Heat that head up, pop it right off. If you're interested in more boil and pop, a more in-depth thing, you can look at one of my other videos. I'm not going to go into it again today. But all of the original Robin figures, the old Batman figures, and the Superman figures all had these kinds of heads where you could pop them right off, and they had this long neck stem. And so boil and pop the head off of Robin here, and then we're going to fit the cape on. Alright, so we got Robin here with his head popped off, and we got the cape. I made a second cape while I was at it, in the background there. This one black on both sides. Black and black. And you can see I poked a little hole in it. What you want to do is take the Robin figure, the head, and fit it underneath here. And cut a little hole right in the bottom where the stem fits into the head here. And then you take this thing, trim it so it fits underneath the little cowl that's attached to this head here, the black part on the bottom, his collar, I guess I should say. It'll fit right under there. This thing goes right over the neck, I guess you can call it a neck, right? We're going to call it a neck today. Let it stretch over there. Okay, and then you just pop the head back on. Might need to heat it up again. It's been a few minutes. We're going to heat it up in the hot water again for a few seconds. Heat it up for a few seconds like I said. And it's nice and soft now. And it pops right back on. Now you've got Robin with his cape. Nice, huh? Much better. I don't know why they ever made Robin without a cape. It's just crazy to me. But that's what they did, and that's how you fix it. Robin with a cape. We got Ms. Martian here. Ms. Martian with her cape. And don't they just look like the cutest couple? Alright. One more thing to show you. Be right there. Okay, now the third style of cape for Robin, well, the third style of figure, I guess, would be this Robin with the cape. And what I did to attach this was, you see this Batman here around his neck, he's got this plastic piece that the cape is glued to in the back. Basically all I did was I took another one of these figures, I pried the cape and the black piece off, and when I made my new cape I just glued it on and fit it over his shoulders again. Takes a little bit of modifying because Batman's got a couple of little divots in his back that this thing fits neatly into. You got to kind of shave those off, but it fits right around his shoulders. I don't really have another piece that I can actually take apart and show you how it works, but it's pretty simple. You take this plastic piece off of a Batman, fit it on the Robin, glue the cape to it. Making the cape, like I said, with the yellow on the inside, it's pretty basic. It's pretty easy to do. And they're very durable, like I said. Kids can play with them. And they're not that hard, so, you know, your kids might get a year's worth of play out of it. They start to fray or something on the edge. You just make them another one. It only takes a few minutes. You know, once you've done it a couple of times, you should be able to knock one out in half an hour or less. So there you go. Here's Robin. Here's another Robin. Here's Ms. Martian again. Oh, come on, get in the picture, little girl. Ms. Martian with her cape. 3 different figures, 3 different styles, but the capes are all made. They're attached differently, but they're made in the same way. Alright? I hope you enjoyed this, guys. I hope you learned something. I hope you're going to be able to give it a shot. Take some pictures. Post them up for me to see. I'm going to put a link down at the bottom for my other custom tutorials. If you want to check any of those out, there's a Thor figure, there's a head swapping one. And again, let me know if there's some project that you're trying to do at home and you're getting stuck on. You can send me a line. I'd be happy to try and help you out. Alright? Signing off. Remember to click like, subscribe, add a comment, give it a share. Let people know we're out here. We appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.